Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming. My name is Killjoy, and today we're going to be talking about Back 4 Blood. And basically, has it improved, since, well, when it first came out, which was a few years ago now. So is it any good? Is it worth playing? Is it worth picking up in 2024, basically? And honestly, I had a good time when I originally played this game, but there was issues with how the game runs, just some oddities with the games, things like that, versus playing the game now, which is almost like, the best way to describe it is the game finally feels very polished. So let's talk about it. Back 4 Blood, for those who don't know, hopefully the on-screen visuals will help, but basically it's Left 4 Dead style game. It's a 4-player co-op game where you fight against hordes of like essentially undead and like zombies and kind of monsters and stuff, and this game allows you to pick a bunch of different characters. They all have their own bonuses. You pick a bunch of cards. You have a deck of 15 cards, and you go out into the field and you do missions, and the missions have a variety of getting from one place to another, looking for items to fix up something, defending areas, all kinds of stuff like that. And essentially you have a ton of different weapon choices, a ton of different attachments. The game is for the most part fairly enjoyable for what it's trying to do. So it's trying to be a horde based shooter. It works pretty well. Having melee weapons in there as well is really cool, and there can be a lot of strategy and things like that. Now, since I played the game when it originally came out, I played it on Game Pass. I now own it on Steam, and a lot has changed in the game. There is a ton of balancing, a ton of cards have been added, other features like that. But the main thing that I think has been quite clear to me since playing the game again is how better the game performs as a whole. When I played it, the game was incredibly choppy. There's one mission in particular that I think you're on top of, like, over some water, and there's a ton of like shipping crates, and it used to run real badly. Basically, every mission I've played so far since replaying this is a ton of the old levels. I played some of the new light levels which were in the expansion. I've had pretty much a flawless experience. May have had the occasional like hiccup, but very, very minor. For the most part, the game runs significantly better. The game feels a lot smoother. It doesn't feel particularly like jumpy or like when I move the mouse to aim my gun, I'm not feeling like the game's not causing any extra like lag or like frame hitches or anything like that. It's very smooth is a good way to describe it, and it's like night and day, and it makes such a difference compared to playing the game originally, which was kind of like very from level to level. The more monsters, obviously the worse the game would run, but now it seems like the game can chuck a ton of monsters at you, and it seems to be running significantly better, which is good. There is a lot of changes and things that I could go over from if I went through all the patch notes. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to pick out the things that actually matter. So since I played it, the game has obviously been balanced and polished, but there are a few things that have changed. For example, when I first played the game when it came out on launch, you had to essentially, you pick your cards mission to mission. It would give you an option of so many cards, you would pick one. You get to the next mission, it would give you an option of more cards, you pick one. Now they've changed that at some point during the update process, that you build your deck, you start with those 15 cards, which is actually kind of fun because it means that, for example, if you want to build a deck that is based around melee and you go for all stamina build, you can do that. You can do that for movement speed, you can do that for having more ammo. There's a ton of choices there once you unlock a lot of the cards. Nice, really good change. Really like how it works. You can still pick cards up in the maps to get extra bonuses, but all in all, that's probably one of the big changes. The other one is that you have these things called burn cards that seem to be added now. I don't know how far in they were added when the game was coming out, but it's the first time I've seen it, and these are like extra cards that you can play that require a different currency that you get from playing dropping in the safe room, so you get instant healing, all this other sort of stuff, which is a cool mechanic. Not really used it, but I'm glad that it's there. And then obviously the other things that come out of are like the Trial of the Worm. There's a Children of the Worm, or whatever it's called. There's two main like expansions. I think there's Act 1 to Act 4 is the original game with the levels and that. Act 5 is an expansion. Act 6 is an expansion. They bring about their own cleaners, which are the people that you play as, and on top of that, there's also these new wormholes that you basically get on levels where you go down underneath the ground and you run around collecting these skull totem things, and you get that as like another currency. So The gameplay is significantly more freshed up. I will say I haven't played all of the DLC, but I have played some of the DLC missions, and they seem like some of the best ones. That was Act 5, I believe. So the first 2 missions of that like have you building up a boat, and the second one's like assaulting a prison, and that they are by far some of the best that I've had playing this game. So they definitely, in terms of the level design, are significantly better than what the game was. You know, like some of the missions in the base game are good, but I don't think they ever get to the level of how much more fun I was having with the DLC. There's not a huge amount to say about the game as a whole in terms of, you know, how much has changed. It's not like my Torchlight video where Torchlight had a ton of, or Torchlight 3 specifically had a ton of issues, and some of that stuff was ironed out. It was mainly the fact that on launch, it probably launched a few months too early. It felt a little bit underbaked, Back 4 Blood, and now it feels very polished. Having no issue with the controls. There are still a couple of minor issues with the game. One is that the special, like, I call them special infected, but the special spawns, they don't have much of a musical cue when they're on screen. Obviously your characters will shout them out. It's one good thing that Left 4 Dead does very well, is it will play a very, very, very obvious musical cue. You're like, oh, it's this particular enemy. This game doesn't really do that, and if it does, I don't really notice it. So it's kind of, sometimes you just sort of, it'll shout tall boy, for example, and it's like, oh, okay, it's a big dude. But sometimes it would be nice if the game did a better job of clearly making it like, oh, it's this type of enemy, it's this type of enemy kind of thing. Especially with some of the newer types, like the Lobber itself is kind of a crazy enemy type, so that's always fun. And what was the other thing? So we had there was one other thing, and I'm clearly blanking on it, but the monster, getting hit, that's it. When you get hit in this game, it doesn't like violently screen shake or anything. Sometimes it's just not. If you're too busy fighting something or too busy focusing on what you're doing, sometimes you get hit and be like, oh, and not kind of click that you're getting hit. It's not very well. It's indicated, but it's not like crazy. It's not like crazy screen shake. The red flash is quite minor. I don't know if that's something that you can change. I should probably look into that. But from playing the game again, some of those minor flaws of not always recognizing which special infected have turned up or what you're getting hit by. Sometimes that stuff can still be a bit like, oh, I didn't realize that guy was there. I didn't realize that I was actually taking damage from that particular area. And you know, I don't expect now. I think the game's pretty much done with updates, so I'm not expecting that to change. But there's still some minor things. But all in all, the biggest difference is how much better this game runs, and I think that's the most important thing. Like, if somebody wanted to play a good full player co-op game, I think this is a good game for that. I think it's fun. There's a big chunk of content here, all the different cleaners. There's a ton of unlockables. The changes they seem to have made to the game seem pretty good. I'm not going to go over all the balance changes, but there seem to be a lot of those as well. And overall, the game, like, it feels better to play. I'm playing on PC with a keyboard and mouse. I should probably state that. I'm having no issues with my mouse. The movement feels nice on the keyboard. And quite frankly, it's fun to come back to a game that was okay to finally feel like, actually, no, this is the state it should have been in when I played it. And this is always the gamble you have when playing a game like this, or any kind of game really, that if you play it on launch and it's in a bit of a bad state, you better hope that you can get through it and enjoy it for what is there, versus waiting and now playing the game in 2024 and being like, oh no, they have polished this game up. It feels much tighter. The controls feel responsive. Response is another good word of describing it. Everything feels responsive. It doesn't feel like I'm like fighting with anything at all, you know, and that is just a huge improvement over what was there in the first place. I think the game might be on sale. It might not be on sale on Steam anymore, but I got it on fairly cheap, the Ultimate Edition that comes with the extra DLC and all that. I think if you're looking to play a fun co-op game with your friends, and you're looking for something that's kind of a fast-paced kind of game, I think this is worth picking up. Maybe, I don't know what the normal price of it is, but I'd say anything under about, I'd say £15, £20 or under. I think this game is kind of worth it now, because the state of it is significantly better and you're going to have a much smoother, polished experience, unlike when it started. So, to answer, I guess, that question of, is Back 4 Blood any better in 2024? The answer is a resounding yes. I'm very glad that it's significantly better. It feels like, now coming back to it, the DLC seems to be a lot of fun, so that's good. The changes they made, good, and overall the game is running better on PC, so can't complain about that. Happy days. Anyway, shorter video today, but thank you very much for watching as always. If you like the video, hit like. If you want to see more content like this, hit subscribe. Links for Facebook and Twitter will be down below in the description as always. And until next video, I will see you then.